It's a very good evening, this Monday evening, the 25th of July. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Wayne Turner. I am your host through until 7 o'clock this evening. The program's name is Talk at 6. And this evening's guest is our regular diabetes come low carb, high fat expert doctor. Our first special guest all the way from Amsterdam. Gabriel, thanks so much for joining us in the studio.
No problem.
When were you diagnosed with type 1 diabetes?
On the 31st of July 2015.
So that's last year. So on Sunday, it'll be 1 year.
Yeah.
Now, often it's been regarded, not quite, but almost a death sentence to get type 1 diabetes. People just don't give it's not very positive because it's so serious, but you've just taken this in your stride. Tell us about what you've done since then.
We found out about Tim Noakes because we received a book we got it as a gift from some friends, and we thought it was a really good idea, so we searched him up on the internet, and that's kind of how we got into the low carb diet.
Was it Tim Noakes' book?
Yeah.
Oh, right. And he's a big friend of the radio station.
Was it quite a big shock when you were first diagnosed and you were treated as risky?
Yeah, definitely.
Put onto insulin at that stage.
So were you diagnosed in South Africa?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were at a friend's house, and they also have a friend who has a type 1 diabetic. And we went to the clinic the next day because we were asking the friend why I was so thirsty.
Uh-huh.
And then, so we went to the clinic, it was the chemist, sorry.
Right.
And then my sugar was 28, so then she checked again, and then it was 30.
Wow.
Sorry, can I interrupt there?
Yeah.
How serious is that?
No, that's very, very hard. But that is unfortunately pretty usual for what happens when you're diagnosed with type 1 diabetics. So thirsty and that for a couple of weeks, and or start getting worse, and then start losing weight, and that can go into the loo a lot. And then by the time you're diagnosed, it's usually well into the 20s, even into the 30s.
Gabriel, how did it feel when you saw that reading?
Well, I was quite shocked, but in the beginning I thought that was good, actually. I didn't really know anything about it. And then the doctor nearly fell off her chair. So I was quite shocked, and I was crossing my fingers that it wasn't diabetes, but it was kind of obvious that it was. But I was very sad and stuff. But yeah, I was just...
So, Neville, what was the journey with them medically now that you've been diagnosed?
So unfortunately, you guys left South Africa quite soon after that. I mean, you were diagnosed, put onto treatment, and then you heard about Tim. I think you made some contact through through Tim Noakes as to some of the doctors you could contact, and it was through Tim Noakes and the contacts there that they actually heard about me.
Yeah.
Then Lee, Gabriel's mom, emailed me, and we made some contact.
So it was electronic communication?
Yeah, it was electronic communication. And then we started Skyping. So we started Skyping, they would send their results to me, I would have a look at them, we would look at what sort of insulin to do, and then we spoke about how the diet would work and how we try to improve it. And Gabriel then has gone on a journey, really, in terms of his diet and taking this on actually very actively. And I think it's been fantastic because he's gone on a journey in terms of how to prepare food for a type 1 diabetic.
And then did you find that process of now modifying your lifestyle easy, or did you still have times when you thought, do I have to do this?
Yeah, I get that quite often, but I'm getting used to it now.
Right, and of course it means good health. It's not just well, I'm doing a diet so I can lose some weight. You're doing this so you can live a long and healthy life.
Yeah, definitely, because with type 1 diabetes you tend to live a shorter life, I think.
Right. Now tell me something interesting. When we were talking before the show, you mentioned something about that you started cooking, and then tell us about how that has moved on.
Oh yeah, so we thought we could do a cooking channel on YouTube because I love cooking.
Did you love cooking before you found out you're diabetic?
Yeah, I've always loved food and cooking. It's always my favorite thing. So we started a YouTube channel, and we have my whole story, and we promote Tim Noakes, and there's a few other diabetics who also do the low carb diet. And then I also do cooking demos and stuff for healthy diabetic meals that, yeah.
What's your channel name?
Gabriel's Diabetic Kitchen.
Only low carb type
Yeah, it's
food?
only healthy low carb food. It's to help people, and I'm trying to change the world to be healthier. Yeah.
You know, it's the youth of this world that change the world, isn't it? Hey? I mean, can you imagine this generation in their 20s and 30s when we talk bad eating or low carb? It will just be part of their lives.
Absolutely. And I mean, the impact that they're having and slowly having, you know, is just going to grow and grow and grow. And we're seeing that as more and more diabetics are starting to embrace and understand low carb. You know, we're starting to see more and more people kind of getting their heads around it and starting to change their lifestyles. And so it's fantastic. So every bit of sort of another kind of nail in the coffin of the low fat is
the naysayers.
Yeah, is just because the diabetics are getting it right, and type 1 diabetics, and you know, we know that type 1 diabetics, it's a struggle, but they can live a normal life. They actually can live well into their, you know, Richard Bernstein and a number of type 1 diabetics have lived into their 80s very happily, and you know, there's absolutely no reason why it should be anything but that, you know.
Right.
But it does take a lot more discipline, and it does take a lot more work.
What does it do when you compare historically and when there wasn't huge emphasis on low carb? What does it do to a young man like this who starts early, diagnosed with type 1, starts eating healthily and moving forward? I mean, how does that affect his future? Does it lengthen it? Does it?
Well, obviously, it's difficult to say that we know the answer to that now. You know, we hope and believe that it is going to make a big difference. And there are patients with type 1 diabetes who have survived for a long period of time because they have actually been able to do something about it. And we're talking about the Richard Bernsteins and those who've been following low carb, even Michael Brownlee. I mean, some of the researchers that are out there that are definitely, I think, must be following some sort of proper lifestyle in this.
But just a low glucometer sugar reading,
keeping low readings, yes,
means that it's not going to be impacting those organs, those cells in the long term. So you've already removed all that collateral damage from early in the cycle.
Absolutely. So we're trying to prevent the damage to the kidneys, which is one of the big areas where type 1 diabetics can get affected. Obviously, recurrent infections, eye damage, and then obviously cardiovascular damage.
So if he has maintains the right levels, sugar levels, and eats healthily, all those things you're talking about are unlikely?
I would say they're pretty unlikely, yeah. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's going to be a much lower risk of those things.
But you increase your chances dramatically of living a normal life if you cut out all the stuff that's going to, because that sugar level, it's that bombardment of the brain, the organs and everything that is the killer. And if you consistently keep it down,
you're going to carry on, your body's going to maintain itself and maintain the healthy, I mean, it's going to maintain the health, it's going to maintain the health of the kidneys, because you're not causing oxidative stress the whole time.
Right.
Which is what's infecting the arteries, the kidneys, the nerves, the brain. And, you know, so we're looking forward to Gabriel being around for the next 100 years, maybe.
Gabriel, what's it like being consulted by a doctor over Skype?
Very different. It's quite strange actually, because you can't really I don't know. You can only really talk.
Right.
It's not.
Do you come with your readings to the actual consultation?
Yeah, we send them by email, and then he takes a look at them, and then we have the consultation, and then we talk about it.
So Neville's not much different to a regular consultation.
No, it's not. It's actually it's. You know, I mean, a number of the medical aids are actually now starting to look into this. I mean, Discovery have been talking about virtual consults for a while. Yeah, and you know, so it certainly does happen. And I mean, in this scenario, it's actually, you know, Gabriel still has his doctor in Amsterdam and Holland who's physically seeing to things, making sure, checking bloods, making sure the organs and everything are fine. And you know, so I'm just helping with the background of the tweaking of the diet and how the insulin should be used and what we're trying to achieve.
Right. Gabriel is your doctor in Holland pro low carb?
Definitely not.
So you're actually breaking some ground there.
Yeah. The people in Holland, they eat a lot of bread and stuff.
Right.
So, we tried to convince them with the low carb diet, but they're not interested at all.
I watched a TV program a few weeks ago about the Dutch people selling stuff at the markets, always nice thing. It was poffertjies or something like that.
Yeah, they're like
I looked at
pancakes
that, of course, they can't be very healthy. So
Yeah.
you can't eat all those Dutch treats then.
No.
How about the licorice?
Well, there is some sugar-free licorice that I can have,
But it tastes terrible. Sorry, I've tried Dutch licorice and it's it's not your best treat.
no. But there are like dark chocolate and stuff. There's some sugar-free, like with stevia and stuff that I can have, but
So
I
how
don't
do you,
really like licorice.
how do you treat yourself then?
Well, we have the low-carb flapjacks, and we make low-carb cake, and my sister makes delicious low-carb frozen yogurt, which is really nice.
But that's your twin sister. You've got a twin.
Yeah.
And she's 100% healthy with, not 100% healthy, it's the wrong word. She doesn't have type 1.
No.
Okay, right. So tell us a bit about how a day in the life of Gabriel works. I mean, you're a normal teenager, but you just got something, an extra layer of looking after yourself. And what do you do in the morning?
Well, I often sleep late. And then
But that's a teen thing, not a diabetes thing.
No. And then I check my levels before I have my breakfast. And then I take my insulin and eat. And then about 2 to 3 hours later, I'll check my levels again. And then before lunch, I'll also do that again. But and then if it's low, then I'll also check.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel sometimes you're not feeling that great, you need to check?
Yeah, but it's only really when I'm low.
Mm.
When I'm high, I don't really feel anything, but when I'm low, I feel like shaky and weak and lethargic and stuff.
Right. So Neville, how important is this testing for a type? We've chatted mostly about type 2 diabetes. How important is the whole testing levels with a type 1 diabetic?
It's much more important than a type 2, and it's not because type 2 shouldn't test; they should. But
it's not as critical.
But in terms of, because you're adding a medication that's going to drop your glucose levels, you're trying to control glucose levels. Your risk of dropping glucose levels too low is much higher.
You talk about insulin.
About the insulin, yeah. So the medication is the insulin. So once you need to test that you're in fact giving the right amount of insulin for the meal. You need to test that you're achieving your targets after a meal and that you're not going too low and that you're not going too high. Because if it's too high, you need to add some more insulin to correct. If it's too low, you need to possibly eat something. So it's trying to find that balance so that eventually what happens is you learn that this meal needs this amount of insulin, that meal needs that amount of insulin to keep your sugars in pretty much a close range. And the reason why low carb in type 1s actually works is because you're not spiking glucose levels as high as you might if you weren't eating low carb. Say if you're eating sugars and all that, you spike it high, then you've got to take a lot of insulin to control it. The problem with that is that you can overdo it with the insulin, cause a low, or you still can't give enough to control the high spikes, and it takes a long time to get them back under control.
And insulin is not something you actually want to be putting into your body. It's there as a last resort.
Yes, you want to try and keep it down to as little as possible because you don't want to cause the lows as well, which is what I think the biggest fear for type 1 diabetes patients is the lows. You know, it's one of the things that they'll rather run their sugars high, which is causing long-term damage, than low because they feel so terrible, because that's what they feel short-term. So, and that's why testing your glucose levels is so much more important for a type 1 diabetic. Now, you know, Gabriel's been brilliant, and I mean, I've seen his readings obviously, and he's keeping well controlled. But, you know, many of the type 1s don't want to test a lot, and they take insulin as they feel, but they don't really know where they're going, and they don't really research their own bodies as to what food's doing to them.
Now, Gabriel, tell us about this YouTube channel. Now, I also do video production, so it's an interest of mine. What is it all about? How do you do it? Who sets it up? I mean, who does the production? Is it you do it from home? Give us the background.
Yeah, so we do it from home, and my mom also does videography, and she makes documentaries and stuff. So she
That's
does
unfair, you know that. Totally unfair that you've got someone who's professional.
Yeah. So my mom does all the filming and the editing. And we just do it at home in the kitchen.
You actually do the recording in the kitchen?
Yeah.
So, who decides what you're going to do, or do you just take stuff that you've been successful at and you say, well, I'm going to do a video on this?
Yeah, so we kind of have like a thinking session before we do the video.
Pre-production.
Yeah, about what we're gonna do, and we usually take the best recipes that work the best for me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we do those ones.
Do you have a script?
No. Well, I have it's kind of a basic one, but most of the time it's not really a script.
Just bullet points.
Yeah.
So you know what to do next.
Yeah.
And so, what has been the response to the channel?
Well, like every day on Facebook we have like, I can't remember how much, but like we get like likes every day and new views.
You don't have to give absolute statistics, but you're getting a response from your YouTube channel.
Yeah, lots. And we even had Richard Bernstein comment on one of my videos.
Oh wow, that's one of the names you dropped just now.
Yeah.
So it is getting. How many videos have you done?
4.
4 videos. Oh, that's great. So is this going to be a long-term thing? Are you going to continue it?
Yeah, definitely.
That's great because I mean, we'd love to promote it on air because number one, you live overseas, so it's not some local advertising, and it's something that is going to help people, especially parents who have kids who are type 1, even type 2 diabetes. So what do you have coming up in the future? I mean, is it all low-carb recipes?
Yeah, all low-carb recipes and like tips and tricks and like, yeah.
No, I mean, that's what we have with Neville and Tim Noakes. They give lots of tips, but people say, can we get the recording the program or whatever? But having someone actually doing it in front of the camera and saying, this works, guys. Are you going to only do tried and tested recipes that you've experienced, or are you just going to try to find things that work?
Yeah, we always try new things, and if they work, then they work, and if they don't work, then they don't work. But yeah, always new.
So how does your mom feel about having a video YouTube?
She thinks it's really cool.
But she's biased because she's into video. Eh?
Yeah.
your friends and your family, what do they think about the
They think
channel?
it's awesome, and they think it's really cool that I'm doing this.
Do any of them follow your recipes?
Yeah. My uncle and everyone, they all try out my videos and stuff.
Oh yeah, because it's such a great medium. I did in my little video production, I did a video session with someone who's a top, does easy cooking meal sort of things, and it's just so effective. I was behind the camera and in it, I thought, I want to try this. But then I remembered Tim and Neville, I thought, this is not low carb. But definitely
You're going to try
Gabriel. You're going to go to, you just go to YouTube and you search for Gabriel's
Diabetic
Kitchen.
Yeah.
It's been really great having you in the program with us.
Just a question, are you testing your sugars on the videos as well, before and after?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're seeing the results.
Oh, so we actually see, well, that makes it even more interesting. I haven't heard of that. So you do it before the actual cooking session?
Yeah, so before I eat, and then like an hour or 2 after I eat.
And you eat on video?
Yeah.
And
no, we've got to see the proof of the pudding here.
Thanks, Neville, for digging interesting people out for the show. Gabriel, we really appreciate that you came in, and if you do happen to move back to South Africa, we've got to make contact.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be watching. I'll be making some comments.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.